It's time to clean this throttle body. I noticed there was some oil in here. There's a bunch of carbon buildup. So he told me it was running rough. Sometimes upon first start it will go up high in RPM, and then after a minute or so it'll go back down kind of like it should be. So that tells me that carbon is built up around this plate here that's inside, and when it closes there's so much carbon built up and whatnot that it won't close or open properly. So we're going to take this throttle body off. There'll be 4 10mm bolts here. There'll be one plug in here and one plug in here. Then we'll be able to take this throttle body off. There is a little gasket behind it, so we got to be careful. We don't want to try to rip that if we can help it. And then we can clean this properly, get all that oil, all the carbon buildup off of there. And then we got to do the same thing to the throttle body housing that goes right in here, hooks into here and sits on top, because I noticed there's oil buildup in there as well. I believe we're getting oil shooting up through this little, this is basically the PCV valve, but it's not like interchangeable. It's one of them built-in ones, and it has a little hose here that goes up to this housing. I believe we're getting a little blowback through here, and then it's coming and working its way here, but there was no oil coming on this side to the air filter. It was dry, dirty but dry. So let's go ahead and break some of these bolts loose and take this throttle body off, and I'll show you a good proper way of cleaning it. You don't really want to use carb spray or brake cleaner, because this has a certain type of coating in here. It's best if you can use straight throttle body cleaner. That way it won't do no damage. And we may have to reset the throttle body, because when you clean it, it's gonna have a memory of how it opened and closed before. It's gonna want to run at that RPM, and when you clean it and everything, it's gonna function properly. But the memory in your CPU will tell it to run like it did before, and so it may have a little higher RPM than we want it to have. So we're gonna probably reset the code to that. Three of them broke loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next step, which is disconnecting these cables here and here. See if I can bring you in a little closer. Now, as far as the cables, they're gonna have like a little red clip here. You want to pry that open and get it off of there, and there should be one on the bottom as well, where you pry those little levers off, tangs, and that will break this free. There we go. Now I should be able to just press in on it here and pull this out like that. One plug in. See these little clips here? You got to pry those up with like a hook tool or a screwdriver. Get them off of that little tang. Then you can press in here on this and then pull it out. Now on this one, it's got a little lever here on the side. You press that down and then that should just pull out. There we go. Got this little lever there. Press down, pull it out. Now our cables are off. The throttle body will separate from here. there's a kind of like an O-ring, big giant O-ring that covers this. That's the gasket I was talking about. Okay, so now we broke our 4 bolts loose. We'll take them out. We've already unplugged our 2 plug-ins. And that will allow us to get this throttle body out of here completely. And it's a good idea to clean these anyway. I don't know, maybe every 50,000 miles. That way it'll stay clean, keep your performance up to par at all times, idling perfect. There's the ring, the O-ring. This looks like it was replaced recently. I know he said he paid for a tune-up. Cost him $220. And for that kind of money, they replaced 1 coil. They replaced the number 2 coil pack. But for that kind of money, you know, you expect all new plugs, all new coils, new air filter. They didn't even replace the air filter. It had I don't know, it's been like 120 years since it was replaced. I'm gonna reach down here and see, I got oil in here, so I'm gonna clean that intake best I can with a rag and pray he don't need an intake gasket. So we're gonna have to check for signs. May have to do a compression test on this, see if we got a cracked head gasket or blown head gasket or a cracked head or something. I don't know. I'm praying not. But we did have some oil in here, and you can see the carbon built up. So we're gonna take it step by step, see what we can do for them. We're gonna be using this CRC throttle body and air intake cleaner. This will help eliminate hesitations and rough idle and removes the harmful deposits. Brilliant. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, as far most of the cleaning, this throttle body cleaner will clean most of these deposits off with just spraying them off. We will wipe it down too, but you want to be careful and not like open and close this very much, because that is electronically controlled, and if you open it and close it a bunch and a lot, like if I open that wide open, whenever I go to reinstall this and start the truck up, it could jump up into idle, you know, 4,000 RPM and run there for a minute until the computer learns, you know, and reset itself. So be careful. You can open it up a little bit, you know, 1/8 of an inch, little. Try to wipe a rag underneath it, spray underneath it, clean it the best you can that way. Well, let's go ahead and give this a cleaning real quick. And you also want to wear gloves with this. You don't want to really get this stuff on your hands. Goggles. You don't want to spray it back in your face. Some more advice is try not to spray directly into the plug itself, because you don't want to get all that wet. That could ruin this whole throttle body. So now we're going to take a rag and wipe her down. Get up in there. You don't want to use a wire brush or nothing. Very soft bristle brush. Wipe down as much as you can. You don't want to take a screwdriver to it or nothing and gouge this inside, that coating up. Just get it good and wet with the throttle body cleaner. Wipe it down best you can. After several minutes of doing this, you'll have it pretty well knocked out. And what I'm going to do is get a Q-tip, or probably 430 Q-tips, and I'll go through here where it's right up against this valve. I'll open it a little bit, get the Q-tip soaking wet with that throttle body cleaner, and scrub it out that way as well. And all these little cracks and areas that I can't reach. Alright, we have cleaned the throttle body best we could. I've put my hand in here as far as I could, wiped down anything I could find in there, had a little bit of oil down in here. So now we're going to put the throttle body back on. Long bolts should go on top. I have little smaller bolts for the bottom. And you just want to put all four in, get them started, so that way you can tighten them down, crisscross pattern. Just get them finger tight. So you take the play out of it. That way you ain't binding it up. I gotta bump the camera, I'm sorry guys. As you can see, the throttle body's a lot cleaner than it was. Now we can go ahead and torque them down like they should be. Now that that's nice and tight, we can plug our cables back up. Just press down on this little tab right here. Press down, push forward, and then that'll lock in place. Push in on the clip. Then you lock that little locking clip in place. Alright, so now our throttle body's back on. It's all clean down in here.